you. Welcome to the Executive Encore video podcast for today. It's live, where we blend motivation, personal stories, and practical tips to help you prepare for a fulfilling life after 60 and into the other decades. I'm your host, Patricia Muir, and today we're going on a journey through the realms of fitness consistency and the thrilling twist of adventure that lights up our path to longevity and vitality. My introduction for today: if you find it difficult to stick to a fitness routine or are searching for that spark to make fitness fun again and an awe-inspiring habit rather than a chore, this is the video podcast for you today. I'm pleased to introduce a very special guest, Kelly Howard, a woman who is a testament to the power of consistency and adventure in crafting a fulfilling and active life as we live longer. Kelly is a fitness consistency expert who believes fitness should be an adventure, and I can't agree more. I remember when I had adventures that they were so much more fun than just being on a treadmill, that's for sure. Kelly is the author of Fit, F-I-T, Active and Ageless for Life, a champion for helping women find joy in movement while challenging themselves in meaningful ways. Kelly is into busting myths, so you know she will be one of my favorite guests. I love busting myths, while sharing her wisdom and empowering thousands of women for over the last 2 decades to transform fitness in their lives, transform it in a different way. Stay to the end and learn about a special call to action that Kelly has and a special gift to inspire you to be active and ageless in your life. Before we invite Kelly to share her insights, remember this quote that resonated with me. Fitness is not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you used to be. So hold on to that thought. Welcome, Kelly. How are you today?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you. What an amazing introduction. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so Kelly, you and I spoke about what, how you take a look at fitness over the last little while, and especially now. You are a fresh voice. I have to tell you, a fresh
Oh,
voice and beacon of inspiration when it comes to fitness.
thank you.
Why do you believe that consistency is the key to long-term fitness?
Well, really, this is a myth, right? We have been sold a myth for eons about like this go big or go home kind of thing. And that doesn't get us where we need to be. And to be 1,000% honest, I used to do the same thing. I used to be like, start strong, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden one day I was like, you know what? That's not real. What's real is finding consistent steps that you can do, or let's say small steps that you can do consistently, day in, day out, and that's where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's that the little things that we do, but we're consistent rather than going. You spoke when we spoke before about running a marathon. Okay, so there's small steps to be able to run a marathon, but it is actually the training, the small steps that you go to that gets you fit, not the marathon. Right?
Well, yeah, right? So, I mean, anything that we do in life, if you think about it, like we may be looking to achieve something, but that achievement doesn't typically happen just because we wake up and get out of bed. It happens because of all the things that came before it, the
Hmm.
training, the mindset, the health, all of those things, they add up and they like make little teeny weeny steps.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, we've all heard this, but sometimes it doesn't always stick. Is that if you want to be 100%, if you want to change something 100%, like 1% a day makes so much more sense than just trying to wake up and do it all at once because you won't be able to.
You won't be able to do it. No,
No,
no. In fact, you could hurt yourself, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So, talking about other myths, overcoming myths around fitness is crucial. And I can remember, like in my 30s, where we talked about the weekend warriors, where we would be at work at a desk all week, and then on the weekend we'd go out and be warriors. Can you touch on four common myths, how our listeners can push past those?
Sure. I mean, one of them is okay, my favorite myth. I'll start next week. Okay.
Okay.
Like, everyone says it. Everyone says it to me. I'll
I
start this next week. The reality is that next week isn't going to be any different than this week. Like,
mm,
there's no perfect time to start, ever. And if we start small, consistent steps, and we do it now, and it can be something like I like to call, MDM, minimum daily movement, right? If you start small today, a body in motion stays in motion. So forget the fact that next week is going to be different, because I can pretty much bet everybody that's listening, unless there's something epic going on right now in their life, next week is going to have hurdles and pitfalls too. So
mhm,
that's one of them.
mhm,
Another one is this myth of perfection. Like, I have so many women who come to me and they're like, um, well, I haven't really started because I don't know what to do and I want to get it right. I'm like, and that's fair. That's fair. And in the world of where we live now, it's not that hard to get started. It
no,
really isn't.
no,
Maybe to go from a base of fitness to a step up might take a little bit more, but it's not that hard to do and to get something to get you going. So you don't need that perfection.
mhm,
In fact, I tell people consistently when I'm working with them that they need a schedule, right? We all do.
mhm,
If it's not written down, it's not real. Okay,
mhm,
that's not exactly a myth. That's the truth, right? If it's not written down, it's not real. A lot of times people will say to themselves, well, this week, I guess what I'll do is I think I'll maybe go for a walk 2 days and do a little resistance training. And Kelly says I need some mobility. So I'll do some mobility. That's not a workout.
yeah,
That's a hope plan, right? And so instead of that, you actually take those and you write them down. Then you tell yourself, okay, I've got this plan. And in this plan, over this next week, I am going to hit 80% of this.
okay.
And that is like, right? Like, I mean, if you're just striving there for 100% every time, you're back to perfection.
Mhm,
You
mhm,
go
mhm,
for that 80%, try and reach 90%. If you hit 100%, that's great. If you're hitting 100% every week, you're probably not trying hard enough.
mhm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And what about another myth? Trying to think of one that I see as a myth for me, and I guess maybe the myth is at some point we've got to stop. I'll tell you where this came in for me is I was a runner,
Mhm.
only for about 5 or 6 years, but I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And my doctor told me at one time, and I guess I would have been in my 50s. She says you've got to stop running. Doctor tells you you got to stop running. And I said, well, what am I going to do then because that's what I loved, right? And I think that's what you say, do what you love as well, like adventure, whatever, hiking. She said, well, just start to walk. And I'm, oh, walking sounds,
It is not a myth that just walking can be kind of boring sometimes.
yeah, because I needed something where mentally and emotionally, I was kicking up my life a little bit, and walking doesn't do that. Walking is good for a lot of things like stabilizing, balance, and things like that. It's also good for being, I feel, walking with someone else. Like over the years of the pandemic, my son and I walked every week. It was our way of getting together outside and walking. So there was a lot going on there mentally, emotionally, and physically as well. So running, I like to do solo. So I'll get back to the myth. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No,
I
no,
got off
that's
on a
good.
tangent. The myth is that certain exercises are not good for you at certain times of your life. What do you
Okay.
think of that?
All right. So I'm going to say something so wrong, and I have no letters behind my name, but I'm just going to say it. Sometimes doctors don't know everything.
Mhm,
Okay. So the myth is, do doctors know everything? And there's two myths here, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if your body isn't exhibiting all the issues and, that show that you're breaking down, then oftentimes I encourage the people that I work with to think about, how else can I do this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm just gonna gonna just dive into Kelly's not a doctor, but I'll just say how else can I do this? One thing is that if you love running, like this is your love, and you're not really having terrible issues, but you've just been told that this might not be the best thing for you. Then there's a couple of things that you could do. One is you could switch over to trail running, whole lot easier on your body, a whole lot more body comes into that. The other thing is you go to physical therapy and you just see, are there things that are wrong with me, or are there things in my body that are changing so that I can't ever do the thing I love? Because I hate to hear that somebody can't do what they love.
Hmm.
But the flip side of it is like, let's say that it's true. Maybe your knees are like, oh my gosh, I'm at that point where my knees are just not going to do this. Fine. Then it's a myth. Sorry, but the truth is, it's a myth to runners that running is the only thing.
Okay, runners, you've been put on notice. Not the only thing.
It is. I mean, it is.
Well,
I'm sorry. There are other things. So you have to go, all right, if you really can't do this, like this is like body cannot do this, then what can your body do? How can you do what I like to call fitness flip? Okay.
okay.
What's the fitness flip that you can do? There have been times in my life when I had a broken arm.
Hmm.
I couldn't paddle. Like, that just wasn't the right thing to do. So I
Hmm.
had to fitness flip. What can I do with, this limitation? So you start looking and going, what's something that's always intrigued me? What's something that might give me those endorphins that
Yeah.
I'm really looking for when I'm running? Because that's why runners run,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
And just start like looking outside of this.
Mm.
Like, think outside the box. What are some other things you can do? So that would be a myth buster for me, is that if you really first test the limits of what the doctor knows, why not? We're intelligent women. And second, um, if you can't do it with your body, then find something that just like lights you up, because there's a million things out there you can do.
Okay. So that gives us a segue into adventure and fitness. That's quite a combination, I think, adventure and fitness. How do you use fitness to inspire others? And could you share some of the actionable tips with our audience about adventure and fitness?
Sure, sure. So what I've found is that when I talk to, and I work mostly with women who are about like roughly 50 up. Okay. That's usually my crowd. When I talk to them and I say, hey, have you ever thought about X? Hiking on the Appalachian Trail, stand-up paddleboarding. I don't care. Like I
Ooh.
throw something out there, right? And there's this like spark that happens. And the spark is, "Oh, yeah, I would love to be able to do that." But, and the but
But,
is always some form of, "I'm probably not the right age for this,"
mhm.
or, "I'm afraid that I'm gonna hold people back," or, "I don't wanna be that person that, can't keep up."
Oh,
So,
oh,
I and if you think about it, a lot of our lives, we've been like, "If you can't keep up, then just don't play."
oh dear. Yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
in my world, it's like, if you can't keep up, then let's figure out how to get you to the point where it's going to work. Okay.
yeah.
So like when I lead an adventure, we always have different levels of fitness, women in different states. Okay. And we train for it. So I can talk to that in just a second. But everybody's in a little different place. So I put these together where everybody can play on the same trails and the same water and whatever it is to a certain point. And then there's this point where maybe some people want to pull back and some people want to push out. So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you realize, or when somebody's on a trip with me and they realize that, you know what? Kelly's got me covered because if I don't want to, like, for instance, somebody was in what's it, a ducky, which is like an inflatable kayak. She was in a ducky. We're getting ready to get on this river. It was a little higher than I thought it should be. And she's like, oh, I can't do that. No, you know what? No big deal. We have a raft along. So you lead the duck, you jump in the raft, you play on that raft. Or another, somebody else said, actually, it's the same trip. I don't think I can do that last day hike. It was substantial. And I said, not a problem, because we're breaking into two groups. The people who want to go out there and be, trail goddesses, go for it. The rest of us, we're just going to go chill and have fun. So it's giving women permission to try things they've always wanted to try without the worry of holding people back, without the worry of not being good enough. So that's where adventure comes into it. And I guess if I could say one more thing, what that leads to is it gives us something to look forward to train. Because when you're training for external things outside of you, like I need to lose weight so I look better, whatever, the externals. I need to do this because, this is the way it's expected of me, versus, you know what? I am training for this because I want to go and do, like right now we have a trip for the Smoky Mountains coming up. I want to go do the Smoky Mountains, and I want to be so excited. Like in my book, we start that book with the fact it was the view from the top of the mountain. As a group, I had 10 people train with me virtually, and nobody in the entire group thought they would be able to do the trails, and everybody did it amazing. So yeah, I think it's a big deal.
And amazing for their abilities, right?
Amazing for their abilities. They had more ability than they think.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in the right place with the right group. Because when you have a community, just like you said about walking with your son, right? When you have a community or a cohort, oh my gosh, it's a game changer. And it's a life changer. It's a longevity changer.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's great. I have so many takeaways. I'll share one takeaway, and that is that comparison figure. And it comes into what you said about, am I good enough to do this? Can I do this? Am I going to hold people back? And that does, when it comes to sports in fitness, that's usually what we've been taught about. If we're not good enough to compete, then we can't participate, right?
Exactly.
I think that's one of those big myths, right, through our whole life. If you're not good enough to play a particular sport, if you're not competitive enough, that's the other thing too. But if you're not competitive and you can't keep up, then you can't participate. And that can't be true for us. It has to be something that is good for us, that we're not competing with someone, we're not comparing ourselves. Even that's the lesson in the work that you do. You go out there for the fun and the adventure. And guess what? One of the byproducts or one of the benefits is that you're going to be participating with other people. You're going to be socializing, and you're going to be more fit. So you're bringing your fitness in. So, thank you. That's my big takeaway. I hope other people have big takeaways as well. You've got to think really deep about this sort of thing.
And let me, if you don't mind, tell you where that first started for me. I used to lead a cycling group. So I would train people to do these long distance cycling. But I wasn't a fast cyclist. Like I can go the distance, but I don't have the speed. And there were times when I felt really embarrassed because some of the people were ahead of me and I couldn't hang, right? I couldn't do 20. I could do 18, but I couldn't do 20, right? And so I was just like humiliated, actually. Until one day I went, wait a second, watch this, because you can see people, right? You can see where they are. And I see them pulling into the rest stop. And I'm embarrassed because they're going to have to wait for me, right? So they're pulling into the rest stop, and I start counting. How far ahead of me are they really? And they're like, 15 seconds, 25 seconds. Like, I'm like, wait a second, Kelly, why are you beating yourself up over seconds? Seconds. Maybe they're a minute ahead of me, but instead they just all standing around and having fun at the rest stop. So it's really one of those things that made me go, wait a second, let's think about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelly, it's interesting that you said it's only seconds. So I have a segue in the show about every moment matters. Okay, so you know what's coming up. I'm going to ask you at one pivotal moment when you recognized, like everything opened up to you as far as this is what's going to look like for me to have a fulfilling life. Can you share that with our listeners, please?
Yes, but it might be a little bit of the opposite.
It's
So
your pivotal moment.
it was a pivotal moment. I had purchased a company. I was working. We bought a new house. I was the general contractor. My mother had fallen. I was taking care of her. Like typical, often typical women were doing all the things, right? And you mentioned early on about weekend warriors. So just so happened that this company I'd purchased was an outdoor adventure club. So what I'm doing is I am working myself like a crazy woman during the week, probably, I don't know, probably 70 hours. I mean, at that time I was crazy. So I'm probably working that much. And then on the weekend, I'm not going to the gym during the week. So on the weekend, I'm just showing up and dialing it in. I am now the weekend warrior, right? And at the time I was probably 50, you know, and my body wasn't at a stage where I could just dial it in anymore.
Mm.
Our bodies change. Like at 20, we have all the things working for us. At 50, some of the things aren't working for us so well. So I'm doing all this stuff and I'm just going like a mad woman. I wake up one morning and I am in so much pain, I cannot get out of bed.
Oh.
Like I literally crawl to the bathroom, I crawl back to bed, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm Googling hypochondriacs.com. Like, am I dying? Like, I'm looking for all the things wrong. Where in the back of my head, I know exactly what it is. It is the fact that I haven't been taking care of my body.
Mm.
I've been waiting for it to just like show up and, go big or go home.
Hmm.
All of those things. And it was a pivotal moment because at that moment when I finally and I think about it and I'm thinking, all my friends are doing this. We're all doing this. Like, we're all doing this, and we think that our bodies are just gonna stick together for the rest of our lives, and that was the biggest change for me because that's when I went, "Okay, pull it back. Forget all this, malarkey you've been telling yourself for years. Give your body what it needs." Like, it didn't mean that I didn't play hard because I still play hard right now. But it meant that I needed to start, doing some mobility, um, maybe, bringing in some supplements, sleeping better, caring for myself, reducing the stress, like all of those things. And that's really what led me to be here. Because eventually I grew that other company and sold it. But the idea of helping women become consistent with their fitness for good and for
Hmm.
long
Hmm.
would never go away. So here I am. And that was my pivotal moment. It wasn't a beautiful pivotal moment, but it got my attention.
And yeah, I think many of us have that pivotal moment. It's not sparkling inspiration or anything. It's like,
Right?
whoa, like we got to do something here, right? So yeah,
Exactly. There were no unicorns and rainbows.
that's our reality. Yeah. So how can our listeners and people watching the YouTube version, how can they get in touch with you, Kelly?
So the easiest way is my website, which
Hmm.
is simply fitisfreedom.com. That's
Hmm.
fit, F-I-T, is freedom.com. And you can find me there. You can find the socials there. You can find everything there.
Hmm. Good, good. And of course, that'll be in the show notes. Actually, there'll be more in the show notes as well. But for people who are listening, you might want to keep, that in your mind. And also, I'm so thankful for those of you who have kept listening or kept watching to the very end, because now Kelly's going to tell you about a special gift that she has for you for joining the podcast today. Kelly, do you want to go ahead with that?
So yeah, my job is to reach as many women as possible. And I truly appreciate you having me here. And when we were first talking, I thought, what can I do to help your audience or to support your audience?
Mhm.
So my book, if you would like a free copy, the link will be in the show notes. But I can also tell you it's nothing more than my URL and ebook dash free. It is an electronic version of the book, so you can download it immediately. Once you download it, you can you'll see there's a place for bonuses. You can grab my quiz And the quiz will actually give you a suggested workout plan based on where you are today. So going back to the very beginning where I said a lot of people don't know where to start, this gives you exactly where to start, what to do, and how much to do.
That's great, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's fitisfreedom.com/ebook dash free. But
Correct.
it'll also be in the show notes. Thank you, Kelly. Is there anything else before I do a wrap?
I just want to say that it is never too late for us to start. It is never too late for us to start. And you need to start as soon as you can.
Yes.
That is imperative because the sooner you start, and when I say start, I'm talking about the sooner you start getting fit and focusing on your fitness, the quicker you're going to see the results and see your life change.
Yeah. Yeah. Like today, not next week, right?
Right. Yeah, forget next week.
Okay. Thank you to my incredible audience and to Kelly's amazing followers. Sorry about that, Kelly.
I'll answer to most anything.
Well, that's what the Kathy too. Okay. Every step in our fitness path writes a new chapter in our story, which I just love. Whether it's finding the courage to hike a new trail, or the rush of joining a community workout class, or a community walk, or a community run, every challenge you overcome is like a plot twist in our own adventurous tale. So I love that. Remember that your fitness adventure is not just a quest for physical strength. Many of us, that's what we want as we live longer, but it's also a voyage towards self-trust, which I write about all the time, and resilience, and that unshakable sense of self-empowerment. So everyone, please join me live or on the replays as I share conversations with other inspiring women like Kelly and other thought leaders. We'll explore the secrets to personal and professional fulfillment. And I invite you to be a guest on my show. No matter what your age, no matter what your gender, men are welcome, everyone's welcome, or whatever your perspective is on well-being and fulfillment. We want to share that. As Kelly said right at the beginning, we need to share this information with everyone. So you can visit my website at patriciamuir.com, read my Encore weekly blog, and on LinkedIn, it's also on LinkedIn, and subscribe to my newsletter. I often refer to my guest insights just like Kelly's, because our ability to share and receive wisdom is crucial to navigating sometimes the chaos and sometimes the unexpected, but always things to look forward to in stabilizing our life to focus on fulfillment and self-actualization. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.